Hello and welcome back. My name is Jack B, and as always, thank you for viewing my video. The topics of this video are the dysfunction of both Republicans and Democrats, the worldview of the U.S. and Trump, the November 2025 surveys, and Trump's long history with Russia. To begin, I believe both political parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, are viewed poorly due to the following 7 reasons. Number 1, extremism. Americans view both parties as having positions that are too extreme. 61% for Republicans, 57% for Democrats. Number 2, effective polarization. This is the increasing distrust and hatred of one party toward the other party. Hostility has increased, with majorities in both parties now describing people in the other as more closed-minded, low-life, radical, dishonest, and immoral than other Americans. Number 3, no honesty or ethics. Less than half of Americans feel that neither the Republican Party, 39%, nor the Democratic Party, 42%, governs in an ethical and honest way. They all have agendas, and they are all liars. Number 4, government dysfunction, a do-nothing Congress. Events such as the government shutdown and a general lack of compromise cause hatred, as people feel neither party can be trusted nor effectively solve the country's problems. They can't even agree on the problems. Number 5, the influence of billionaires and special interest groups causes corruption. Large majorities believe that billionaires, big campaign donors, lobbyists, and special interests have too much control over decisions made by Congress. This leads to the government being run by a few big interests rather than for the benefit of all people. Number 6, not being heard, not being represented, and being ignored. A significant portion of the public feel that both parties are always telling them lies, and they feel neither party represents their interests. This contributes to a desire for more political parties among many Americans. And Number 7, negative media portrayals. All media and political candidates have an agenda and demonize the opposing party. This amplifies hostility and increases the perception that the other side is a threat to the nation's well-being. Essentially, the intense division and mutual animosity between the parties contribute to an overall negative view of the political landscape in the U.S. And nothing gets done. It appears that the world's opinion of Donald Trump follows suit, with views differing by country and political ideology. Recent global polls indicate negative sentiment among key U.S. allies in Europe and North America, while specific nations in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia hold some favorable views. In 2025, the Pew Research Center performed a survey across 24 countries. At a high level, there were 3 categories defined. The overall worldview was interesting. Number 1, there were 62% that expressed little or no confidence in Trump to do the right thing in world affairs. Number 2, majorities in most countries described him as arrogant, median 80%, and dangerous, median 2/3. And number 3, a median of 2/3 also characterized him as a strong leader. The world regional view of Trump also followed suit. Key U.S. allies in Europe and North America had overwhelmingly negative opinions. The United States' overall image has declined in these regions since Trump's second inauguration. Neighboring or adjoining countries such as Mexico held a 91% no confidence in Trump, and Canada had a 78% no confidence in Trump. European nations such as Germany, Sweden, Spain, and France widely view Trump as a threat to peace and security, and have extremely low confidence in his ability to handle issues such as the Russia-Ukraine war and climate change. Many now realize Europe must rely on its own forces for security now, especially with the release of the U.S. 2025 National Security Strategy. Although Putin, Orban, and their allies are happy with the new national strategy, there were only a handful of countries expressing a majority confidence in Trump's leadership. Nigeria, 79% confidence, Kenya, 64% confidence, and Israel, 69% confidence, show the highest levels of support. Hungary, 53% confidence, is the only European country where a majority expressed confidence. But that is because Viktor Orban, the leader of Hungary, is a close ally with Putin. India, 52% confidence, also has a slight majority with confidence in Trump. This is interesting because Putin is making moves to align with India. In time, the percentage will probably decrease. Views are sharply polarized along political lines. Individuals on the ideological right and supporters of right-wing populist parties in Europe, such as the Alternative for Germany or Reform UK, tend to view Trump much more favorably. In 17 of the 24 countries surveyed, men are significantly more likely than women to express confidence in Trump's handling of world affairs. There is widespread global disapproval of Trump's key foreign policies, including his use of tariffs, withdrawal from international agreements like the Paris Climate Accord, his wishy-washy approach to making decisions and then acting upon his decisions, and his approach to NATO. Emerson College polling shows Trump's approval rating has declined from 49% in January 2025 to 41% in November 2025. Here are 8 polls completed in November 2025 on Trump's approval and disapproval ratings. 1. The Gallup poll shows his approval at 36% and his disapproval at 60%. 2. The CBS News YouGov poll shows his approval at 40% and his disapproval at 60%. 3. The Fox News poll shows his approval at 41% and his disapproval at 58%. 4. The NPR PBS News poll shows his approval at 39% and his disapproval at 56%. 5. The Marquette Law School poll shows his approval at 43% and his disapproval at 57%. 6. The Reuters Ipsos poll shows his approval at 38% and his disapproval at 60%. 7. The Strength in Numbers Verisight poll shows his approval at 41% and his disapproval at 57%. 8. The AP Nork poll shows his approval at 36% and his disapproval at 62%. Trump's performance in office as well as his hand-picked cabinet are the causes of his extreme drop in approval ratings, especially his economic policies and tariffs, his lack of acknowledgement of the cost of living issue, telling people everything is okay, telling people to sacrifice by reducing purchases for their children, and then showing off his own golden trophies, his apparent refusal to resolve the national health insurance issue, his foreign policy, his favoring Putin over Zelensky and pardoning criminals, how he handles the people within the immigration process, all the environmental protection rollbacks favoring his billionaire business friends. In general, his autocratic actions and his disinterest in the working class people. All these actions show Trump to be the man he really is and have seriously lowered his ratings. His non-qualified minion cabinet choices, such as Hegseth, RFK Jr., Kristi Noem, and Tulsi Gabbard, just to name a few, have also hurt Trump. His quest for the Nobel Peace Prize is ludicrous and should be a non-starter. His administration claims several diplomatic successes, while critics argue these achievements are often overstated and contradicted by other foreign policy actions. And finally, Trump has had long-standing ties to Russia and Putin that had netted him a large amount of money over the years, and even today. His connection to Russia probably has shaped his geopolitical view. Oren Durrell of USA Today published an article updated February 15, 2017, 8:26 p.m. Eastern Time. He updated the timeline of Trump's known connections to Russia. In 1987, Trump was invited to Moscow by the Soviet ambassador to the United States to discuss luxury hotel developments. Trump later told Playboy magazine that his plans to build hotels in Moscow failed because the country was out of control and the leadership knows it. 4 years later, on Christmas Day, the Soviet Union officially dissolved, and Russians who had been allowed to buy state-owned enterprises amassed enormous fortunes. In 1996, while wrapping up a series of bankruptcies in New York, Trump talked of building a replica of his Trump Tower in Moscow. According to Bloomberg News, he then traveled there to discuss renovating the Moskva and Rossiya hotels. The bankruptcies led to a change in Trump's business model. Instead of building projects from the ground up, he signed licensing agreements that, in some cases, gave him an ownership stake in properties that bore his name without putting up any of his own money. The Trump Organization continued to seek wealthy investors in Russia. Dozens of condominiums in Trump World Tower in Midtown Manhattan were bought by Russians in the late 1990s, said Dolly Lenz, a real estate broker who sold many of the units. Lenz stated many buyers sought an audience with Trump, whose business acumen they respected. In the early 2000s, the Trump Organization developed several projects abroad, many of them involving Russian money. In 2007, Trump debuted his Trump Super Premium Vodka at the Millionaires' Fair in Moscow. Large orders for the gold-glazed spirit followed, but the brand fizzled by 2009, according to the New York Times. In 2008, Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr., told investors in Moscow that the Trump Organization had trademarked the Donald Trump name in Russia and planned to build housing and hotels in Moscow, St. Petersburg, and Sochi, and sell licenses to other developers, the Russian daily Kommersant reported. Russians make up a pretty disproportionate cross-section of a lot of our assets, Trump Jr. said at the time. We see a lot of money pouring in from Russia. While exact total figures are elusive, Donald Trump's businesses received millions from Russian-linked individuals and entities which lead to billions in profit, notably through real estate sales like a $95 million property to Dmitry Rybolovlev and licensing deals. There are estimates suggesting significant income from Russia and former Soviet states before his capital dried up in the 90s. Russian oligarchs purchased Trump properties, including a $95 million mansion in Florida in 2008. There were other significant investments in other Trump buildings, with Russian elite investing nearly $100 million in South Florida properties alone. In 2010, Trump's next big U.S. project, the Trump Soho in New York, was built with partner Bayrock Group, founded by Tevfik Arif, a former Soviet official. In 2013, Trump brought the Miss Universe pageant to Moscow, funded by $20 million from Russian billionaire Aras Agalarov. The venue was Agalarov's Crocus City Hall on the outskirts of Moscow. Trump took part in a music video with Agalarov's son, Emin. In 2016, Trump's presidential campaign manager, Paul Manafort, resigned in August amid reports that he worked on the political campaign of former Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych, who had been forced to flee office because of his pro-Russian stance. At this point, it is unclear as to the direction and future of the United States led by Trump. If another party is elected to power, then they will most assuredly go about undoing what the Trump administration has done. There will be a waste of time and money, and nothing will get done. It will be a tit-for-tat environment rather than moving forward in a positive fashion to help the majority of American citizens. Well, the immediate future is uncertain. We cannot keep endorsing extreme points of view because they do not benefit the majority of Americans. I do not believe we want to be a 1950s industrialized nation with lithium, zinc, coal, and iron open pit mines. We do not want smokestacks choking our nation and polluting our water. It would be analogous to going back to the Middle Ages and experiencing the Black Plague. Well, these are my thoughts for today. And again, whether you agree or disagree, please verify the information presented. Thank you. And until next time, take care and be safe. Ooh.